Hello and happy Friday, Honors World Literature. Today we are talking about one of the more difficult chapters to discuss, but one of the richest chapters in the text. A chapter that certainly deserves its own day. Uh, that is chapter 47. That is Mariam's, as you've read by now. This is Mariam's last chapter of the book. She is not in part 4. Happy to be with you today. So let's go to the trial. First of all, she's in a women's prison in Afghanistan, there in Kabul. Of course, the Taliban sees it fit to separate the men from the women, as most people do in prisons. Okay, so the women there are generally petty crimes. I love Mariam here because Mariam is like, yeah, I killed a dude with a shovel. It's kind of like, man, that's kind of get some like kind of a reputation around prison. I mean, some of the women are there for basically petty crimes and they don't deserve to be there. Whereas Mariam is, it's not that she deserves to be there, but she's like, yeah, I killed a dude with a shovel. He was my husband. It's like, that's pretty hardcore. So I like her here. Her trial lasts 15 minutes. Before we get into the trial, let's acknowledge that she wanted no visitors. Mariam wanted no visitors, and she didn't want any witnesses to come to her aid at the trial. So no witnesses, declined her right to witnesses, didn't want any visitors. Why? Two reasons. Number one, she had already said a very difficult goodbye to Lila and Zalmai. I don't think she wanted to bring herself to have to see Aziza. And of course, Tariq, I mean, that's inconsequential, but having Tariq there as well could only make things more difficult. Number two, by having them show up, they're only further complicating the matter. She could end up getting them, they could end up getting in trouble by implicating themselves. If Lila admits that she was there when Mariam swung that shovel, okay, that could ruin everything that Mariam is trying to do here. So Mariam has already said goodbye, and it's difficult to do that again, and she can't endanger her family by having them show up. And that's tough because of course she wants to see them, but it would only cause problems. I like the old judge here. The old judge here is going to sentence her to death. May Allah forgive you, because here's the thing, the judge here, there's three of them, I think, and one of them is kind of younger and arrogant, believes that women are, their brains or something aren't as big as men's, and they're just not as smart as the science proves that males are smarter than females, so whatever. I kind of like the old judge here, the old mullah. He says, I get where you're coming from, and I understand that you were abused. But one day I believe that I am going to die, and when I die, I am going to go to heaven, and God is going to ask me why I didn't follow his commandments. Okay, now we as readers can disagree with his commandments, not God, but the Sharia interpretation of the law. We can disagree with that all we want to, but this is what he believes. And he says, man, I got to get there and I got to tell God that I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And Mariam does not deserve to die. I do not believe that anyone has the right to take the life of another human being. However, you do have to respect that this is that this guy is going to be so devout. Also, once again, Mariam signs her name in front of a mullah. She's done this twice in her life. The first time it was when she married Rashid, and the second time is when she signs her death certificate here, or her sentence to die. And there's some power in that as well. Nagma is there at the end. That's her friend from prison. Yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to think of all this stuff. Two little girls are singing Lily, Lily, Lord Bath. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is all very rich. This is some good stuff. Oh, the dream. I like her dream here because she dreams of a young Jalil. She dreams of Mullah Fazullah teaching her and twirling his rosary beads, and he dreams of Nana in the doorway of the kolba, her voice dim and distant, calling her to dinner. And there's some power in that. I believe that the author intends that this is Mariam coming home, what she's about to do. This is her coming home, and I personally believe that we will be reunited with our loved ones in the afterlife. And I think that the Muslim faith believes that, as does the Christian faith, and there's a lot of faiths that believe that. And so why not this be any different for Mariam? She goes to her execution. I love the conversation she has with the young soldier riding in the van with her. He says, he looked away, then back at Mariam. My mother used to say that he, my father, was the bravest man she knew, like a lion, she'd say. But she told me he was crying like a child the morning the communists took him. And this is important because we have to understand that even though these people are Taliban, and the Taliban are a wicked, wicked people, that every Afghani, okay, the good and the bad and the ugly, has come from suffering, males and females alike. And we understand, again, like I said previously, we understand the Taliban a little bit better because of they suffered under communist law. And so they've all kind of come from a hard place. Anyway, she goes into the stadium, and Mariam is crying a little bit, or she was. But man, I love her walking up to this. She thinks of Aziza. She thinks of Zalmai, and her thinking of Zalmai kind of gives her resolution to be strong, because she realized, why I'm doing this. I killed this boy's father, and I'm also saving my children. Children being Layla and Aziza. It's tough, man, when she thinks of Aziza, thinking about how she would have liked to see Aziza grow up. That's the toughest part. That's the toughest part of this chapter, is her thinking about Aziza growing up, and Aziza having her own kids, and she's never going to get to meet them and play with them. And that's tough. Aziza Mariam thing for me, I don't know how you guys feel, but the Aziza Mariam relationship, that motherly, granddaughterly kind of relationship, was really the most endearing relationship of the book, I think. And that's the part that, as a dad myself, is always difficult for me to read. Anyway, that's sad, and it should be. But look, here's the thing. Here's what I want you to understand, is that, where does it say it? Yes, okay. Mariam wished for so much in those final moments, yet as she closed her eyes, it was not regret any longer, but a sensation of abundant peace that washed over her. She thought of her entry into this world, the harami child of a lowly villager, an unintended thing, a pitiable, regrettable accident, a weed. She was told her whole life that she was inconsequential. She was told her whole life that she was worthless. She was a harami. She was never loved by her father like she should have been. She was never loved by her husband like she should have been. She never got to have a baby of her own, and that was taken from her multiple times. She was physically abused, missing teeth, abused by her husband, and now ends her life as a killer. And man, she goes into that stadium and she faces this guy with an AK-47. That's what a Kalashnikov is. This guy's going to shoot her here, this executor. And the goalposts of the stadium, and people are there. And she walks in and she goes, man, you know what? And this is something I always think about when I read this book. Looking around that stadium, all of these people are here to watch you die. And you got to be thinking to yourself, as scared as you may be, don't get me wrong, I would be peeing my pants scared. But as scared as you might be, you walk into the stadium, you got to think like, now this is something of consequence. I'm dying for purpose. I have a reason. I've been given a reason, and that is to save my family. And number two, man, you know what? All these people are here to watch me die. I'm not going to die some lonely, old, bitter woman in a gutter. I'm not going to die swinging from a tree by myself like Nana. I'm not going to die a cancerous old man like Jaleel, full of regret. Full of regret. She regrets nothing here. She's sad, but she regrets nothing here. And goes into this kneel, and she is executed at the end of chapter 47. But man, what a powerful image to think of Mariam walking into that stadium. And man, look, we're all going to go one day. Okay, hopefully many, many years from now, especially for you guys. I'm sure me first, but hopefully, again, many, many years from now. And so that being said, we should all be so lucky that we would go out in such a meaningful way. I hope none of us ever dies whenever that happens with like regret or alone or sad or tortured. So for someone who lived such a hard life as Mariam did, to go out that way, I thought was really powerful. So a lot to digest about that chapter. We will talk about part 4 next week. You should have already answered 48, which is the first part. You should have already done the questions for part 4, chapter 48. We're going to do 48 through 51 next week, and then we're going to be done with this book. And I'm kind of sad to see it over. I wish we could go all the way to the end of school with this, because I'm honestly sad it's going to be over. You know, it's a sad book, but man, this is, like I said, I think this is like the 4th time I've been through it, not counting the first time I read it. No, counting the first time I read it. This is the 4th time I've been through it, and I really enjoyed it. So anyway, part 4 next week. We're going to the present now. All of this has been in past tense. Now we're going to the present. So honestly, we don't know what's ahead for Layla or Tariq, Zamai, and Aziza. We feel like Pakistan is in our future. We feel like Tariq is definitely in our future. But what comes of that? Is there any resolution? Is there any resolution other than what we've already read from Mariam? And those are stuff we have to determine. That's the stuff we have to determine next week. Okay, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Look for videos at least until we get through 51. When we finish chapter 51 and we finish the book, I'm not sure exactly how I want to structure the class from there. I'm going to do a graphic novel, The Alchemist. You don't have to do that same graphic novel. It can be a graphic novel of your choice. I don't know how I want to do those videos though. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll check in with you guys 2 or 3 times a week instead of 5. I don't know if that bums you out or not, but it's going to be a little more difficult after we've moved from this book, because we won't have necessarily a text that we're all going to be doing. We're supposed to be doing a graphic novel unit where we're all reading different graphic novels. It's just a little more difficult to do that in this format because we're not reading the same thing. So anyway, more details on that on the second half of next week, or maybe the week after next. I might just go 1,000 Splendid Suns next week. Just that'll be the whole week. And then when we come back, we'll have 1 or 2 weeks left after that. We'll figure out what we want to do for the graphic novel unit. Okay? Anyway, let's finish the book first. Let's finish this one first. And we'll do that starting Monday. Okay? Have a good weekend. See ya.